Welcome back to the Let's Talk Baseball podcast. Take two. We did record an episode literally minutes after the Tucker signing drop, but the audio kind of went to crap. So we're here now, introductory episode, welcoming back in. Obviously, you know me, Michael Herrera, joined by Mahal, my goat, one of my just great guys all around. Obviously, Jacob Payne, not here with us. He's still part of the Let's Talk Baseball family. He'll jump in from time to time, but he's doing bigger and better things as a teacher, as a coach. So we wish him support and love. But yeah, no, we are excited to talk ball. He'll be back a couple of times. A lot of guests will be circling through here with the two of us, but you'll see me and Mahal as the main two guys for this podcast for the indefinitely. And Mahal, he did some great work over it. I'll let you introduce yourself in a little bit. With the Light the W pod, big Mariners fan, as you can see with that poster in the back and that hat he has all right there. Obviously Seattle native, big Seahawks fan, so congrats are in order for him as well. But yeah, Mahal, introduce yourself, and then let's get to Yuck and Ball, shall we?
Yeah, thanks for the kind words. Like you said, Light the W, my Mariners podcast, been doing that for over nearly 2.5 years now.
Nice.
If you want the Mariners talk, you can go check that out. Spotify, YouTube, all that jazz. Light the W Mariners podcast, at Light the W pod on all those socials.
Absolutely. And again, you guys know I'm a diehard Dodgers fan. My AL team is the Mariners. I don't think I've told you that personally, but my AL team is the Mariners that I root for. I remember in 23 I actually went to Seattle and I saw a Mariners Angels game where they blew them out like 13-2 or something. Like Pollock hit 2 home runs. It was great.
Oh, I remember that game. It's AJ Pollock's only good
Yeah,
game
only,
as a Mariner.
only good game as a
Only good
Mariner.
game.
So that's why I was hyped because he was just a recently Dodger, so I was hyped to go
Yeah.
see him too. Yeah, no, it's great. So obviously no Tucker news. Even though I think it is interesting, I did see this. I was a little confused how the money works out. $1 million getting paid this year.
Yeah,
I'm
so
I'm a little lost. If I'm gonna be honest.
big chunk of it is signing bonus, apparently.
Yes, it was like
From what I
64
read.
million
64,
signing.
is it 64?
I think it was
Before
64 when I
spring
saw.
training. So it doesn't actually go into payroll. But I was working on looking at the Blue Jays and the Dodgers payroll. Or not Blue Jays, the Mets and the Dodgers payroll. Heading into an episode of my podcast last week. And let me tell you, finding the exact numbers on these payrolls is really, really
No,
difficult.
it is because like again, they're paying Shohei 2 million, but for the actual CBT, it's like around 46 or like
I think it's like 42, 46, something
yeah,
like
like
that.
it's actually like getting the Dodgers are getting charged or taxed for. But yeah, that's the whole thing. I'm going to FanFest this Saturday, so we'll see how that goes. I'm very hyped for that.
Nice.
A little announcement at the end of the episode, which we'll get into it. Obviously, me and Mahal talked about this beforehand. We're excited. But let's start it. Obviously, with the Tucker signing, one of the biggest kind of domino effects was going to be how the Mets responded. And not even within, I think, 12 hours it was announced that they signed Bo Bichette, 3 years, 126, 42 million AAV, which is crazy because like I don't think any of us expected the high AAV contract for him. He gets the opt out deal. Um, I think the most interesting part about this that's not the Mets is the Phillies did offer him 7 for 200. They like went to sleep that night thinking they were gonna get him. They don't. Obviously, he goes now to their division rivals, and I mean, you can't really talk about any like of the recent moves individually. I don't think you can because of how quickly everything happened. So again, you sign Bichette, then a couple of days later, it broke news. You bring in Luis Robert Jr., who is a guy. I mean, this was a guy that was being labeled as the Cuban Mike Trout, Mahal. Like he has that potential. Struggled with injuries over the past couple of years. Has had some decent splits, and we'll get into the numbers in a little bit. And then a couple of days later, they trade for Freddie Peralta, the best pitcher not named Tarek Skubal, probably to be rumored, in trade conversations this offseason. He's a dog, and again, we can get into the numbers all you want, and I'll pull up some. I saw a stat, that was just gross earlier today. Took a screenshot of it on my phone because I need to just highlight this on the pod. Freddie Peralta is the only pitcher in MLB, in the last 3 seasons to strike out 200 or more pitchers. Well, 200 or more batters, with a sub 4 in each of those 3 seasons. Like that's just dominant, and he's healthy. He's a dog. He's pretty much the ace of that rotation. I know they really like Nolan McLean, but he's the ace now. They give him a pretty big package. Again, we'll talk about some of the returns a little bit here. But for a Mets offseason that, again, started off with you don't even offer Alonso money. You lose Diaz. You trade Nimmo for Simeon. You trade McNeil. Again, the core of this, of what this Mets team was, is gone. They were in a weird spot. Like their moves were Polanco, which notice that Polanco. I love Polanco. Obviously, you love Polanco as a Mariners fan. like Polanco's good, but he's not what Pete Alonso is. And bringing the Weaver, Devin Williams, those are guys, but they're not Edwin Diaz, who's one of the best closers in baseball. So for the Mets, they were coming into this spring training before all this happened in a really bad spot, and now you look at the lineup, and it's definitely a lineup you like. And for me personally, this is very reminiscent of the 2024 Mets when they were this kind of a vibes team. Like you look at that offseason, they were building up for Soto. They bring in Manaya, Severino, and Bader. And we're kind of vibes. Again, we're waiting for Soto. They get him. This offseason kind of has the same feel to it, except they really made big moves in Peralta, Bichette, and Robert.
Yeah, I mean, they are big moves. You're not wrong about that. I think the weird thing is, though, how do these guys fit together? Right. And when you're looking at a roster for any sport, but baseball especially, how do each of these guys fit with each other? How does the clubhouse work? You talked about the contracts for Bichette, Polanco. I mean, I know Polanco better than anyone being a
Yeah.
Mariners fan at this point. And Jorge Polanco is not $20 million good. Like, he's not. He had a really good year last year, 132 WRC plus, but that's a career year for him. He was able to stay healthy throughout the year, and that was DHing most of the time. Now their plan is to play him at first base,
First, yeah.
where he hasn't played an inning in Major League Baseball. And then you're moving Bo Bichette, who's not a shortstop, to third base.
And similarly has not played an inning of that in Major League Baseball.
Exactly. And Simeon, who has not been a good bat, is your second baseman. But what happens to Brett Beatty? Now he's your DH. Well, okay, he's young. You have to give him runway to sort of be able to succeed. To me, their offseason it's a bunch of pieces that I don't know how they fit together necessarily. Now, I like stuff they've done. I like these moves individually, but the Simeon move to me is the one where I'm like, how does that fit with the rest of these moves? Without that, if you're telling me they had Nimmo instead of Simeon right now, that roster looks completely different to me.
I think I agree with you, and I mean I think that just goes to show how high they are on Carson Bench, who on Fangraphs is listed to be their in the 9 hole in their left fielding spot. But yeah, I mean Nimmo was a guy kind of in a somewhat similar spot with Simeon. I mean I know we talked about this in depth a lot when the trade went down, how weirdly similar the money came out, and again just how like kind of irked we were by this trade. But they really love Bench, and for Nimmo, like again he was never like the top tier. He was never like talk about S tier outfielders. He was gonna be there. He's a very good outfielder. Like he can run pretty well. The defense is there. And the contact like he's gonna be a great bet for Texas. And I think for New York, to get Simeon in the latter half of his career. I know he had that big 21 with um Toronto. Comes in for 2023. He was an MVP candidate, but just again hasn't been there since. The defense is there, and I saw a clip. It was him and Jet Williams, who is now a Brewer, obviously, and Brett Beatty, I believe it was. They were at Baylor University getting some just reps in, and I liked Simeon for that. Kind of like what we talked about in the last episode of this podcast with Bregman and the Red Sox. Being able to be a veteran leader and a clubhouse guy. Simeon can be that. And absolutely, he's already doing that. So I like that for the emotional side of it. But again, Simeon is a declining hitter. You're gonna get great defense. And I was maybe trying to see if obviously Bo Bichette and Simeon were teammates once before. Maybe that sparked something up with Bo Bichette's defense. He actually had one of his worst career years defensively in 2021 with Marcus Simeon actually up the middle. I went back and looked at the stats. I think that was like one of his worst years for range. But the arm talent's there, so it's gonna be again. Defensively, this is gonna be a really weird team, especially because like also Beatty grades out solidly defensively, and he's their DH right now. And I think you said it perfectly. Like it's a bunch of individual moves you like. Like Luis Robert, again, he struggled, but the fielding run value is there. The bat speed he's in the 92nd percentile. Like he's really good at that, and bat speed is a great indicator of what you're in the right place. And he had like a solid second half last year, and I saw a Mets fan bring this up and had this point of at worst you're getting a better Tyrone Taylor, a guy who can play great defense. He hits lefties pretty well and like can handle himself against righties ish. But in the second half last year, he had he's a guy that strikes out a lot. That K rate in the second half was 15.2%. He had a 126 WRC plus, so he was definitely heating up. So again, there's things you like for the Mets, and I think if this was a different potentially team that made these same moves, I think we would be like maybe speaking a little bit differently about this offseason. But again, you lose Alonso, Diaz, and Nimmo, and your replacements are Bichette, Williams, and Robert. Not to diss any of those guys, but again, Alonso is the franchise leader in home runs for you. Like you have a good top three. Like Lindor, Soto, and Bichette can arguably be one of the better top threes in baseball. But I think this team. I don't think this team is a team yet.
Yeah, I think that's exactly how I would put it. I talked about how the roster, how does that fit together? It's not a team if they don't fit together as pieces. Bichette, really bad defender, by the way. Like
Yeah, no,
defensive run
yeah,
saved -13 last year. Like that's atrocious. And you're moving him to third base where that'll help his range because outs above average also really bad. So that'll help his range, but how does that play with his arm? How does that play with his glove? Because if your DRS is that bad, that means that your glove and your arm weren't working at shortstop, and now it's a longer throw. You're gonna have to make some of those charging plays at third base, barehanded plays that if I'm looking at Bo Bichette, he's not making those plays.
yeah. No, sorry to cut you off really quickly. In 2021, he had the best year of arm strength at 86 kind of value. Going to 25, he had his one of I think worst of the 2020s. I just want to make sure I get my numbers. Yeah, tied for his worst of the. Yeah, no, it is his worst. 82.3 rank. Of our arm strength, and like you need the arm strength to be able to pick it there at the hot corner.
Yeah, 100%. And you're going to be making different plays than you were making at shortstop. So we'll see how it, sort of grades out. But if you're just looking at it sort of in a vacuum the way I am, he's not going to be a good defender. Then you take a look at Simeon, who, like we said, the bat hasn't been good. But that guy's 35 years old now. Is the bat going to come back? Probably not. And at what point does the glove just fall off? Because you start to see guys get crossed that
Yeah.
35, 36
I
age
mean, look at
mark.
Arenado now, who's with the D-backs, and the
Exactly.
defensive metrics are some of the worst in his career recently.
They can just fall off randomly at any point. And if he just falls off a cliff, that's a big hole for them. Now, like you said, Brett Beatty, they can plug in there. He had some really good signs last year for the first time. He's always hit the ball hard. He always has a fun ceiling. But can he continue that? And I talk about the Mariners lineup right now. And they just have question marks where I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to get from this guy. Right now, I look at the Mets lineup and it's similar. And it's, if anything, it's more of those guys. I feel confident that I pretty much know what I'm going to get from Lindor and Soto. But you look at Bichette and Polanco, these are two guys that have dealt with injury. Now, at their best, when they're healthy, they're very good players. They're 120, 130 WRC plus hitters, neither of whom are great defenders, but that's against the point right now.
Yeah.
They're both good hitters when healthy, but they both could get hurt. What happens if Bichette goes down for a month and Polanco has a hamstring injury and he can't play in the field? For the Mariners last year, Jorge Polanco couldn't play in the field and couldn't hit from the right side for much of the season because of injuries. Now you hope he's healthier. He dealt with knee injuries the year before and it carried over a little bit into the start of last year. So hopefully he's healthy, but he's been injured much of his career. So at what point does he get injured? Does Bichette get injured? And then Simeon is your what, 3 hitter? And Simeon was an 89 WRC plus last year. And if anything, I expect to be worse. And you talked about the clubhouse fit. Part of the reason they traded him was because Marcus Simeon and Corey Seager were about to have a fight.
I honestly forgot about the report on it. I completely forgot about the report. Yeah, there was rumors about the clubhouse things. Same thing with like Nimmo. There were like the clubhouse. I guess was a lot of weird clubhouse rumors this offseason all around. Yeah, I don't know. I like feel like again, these are still good moves. Like they again, like if this was another team in a different spot, I think we are raving about how good this team is. And again, this team can still be really good, but people are trying to say that this team can now go toe to toe with a team like, for example, the Dodgers. I don't think they can. Like I know we're like. I know I'm a little biased in saying that, and I know the last time I'm thinking Dodgers Mets, I'm thinking 2024. Again, the top three, Lindor, Soto, Bichette, you kind of know what you're getting. You know what you're getting with Lindor and Soto, two of the best players in the game. Bichette, who was one of the better bats this offseason, coming off injury like you mentioned. But when he's right, he's one of the better contact bats in the game. It's always going to be near the league lead in hits. Always going to be near the league lead in average. I know average is like an old man stat nowadays, but still, like he's still a guy that can get it done. The K rate, the K rate was a 14.5, a WRC plus of 134 last year. Like he had 3.8 WAR for a guy that like trends negatively defensively. Like that's again, you love that. But I think for what the Mets need to be, especially with the Phillies, who are still the Phillies, in an NL that has, the Dodgers, the Braves, who I don't expect to be bad again. Like, I think they're going to be better than they were last year. The Cubs, the Brewers, and other teams that are trying to compete. Like, if you were to ask me right now where I rank this team, right, this Mets team in the NL East, I honestly I don't know, because I mean, it's second or third for me personally, but I don't know. And is second or third in the NL East, does that make you in the playoffs? Like, I don't think it might not.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the first three in that Mets lineup. Well, let's compare it to the Phillies' first three: Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper. Do you like that better or worse than Lindor, Soto, and Bichette?
Yeah, I'm taking the Phillies. Like, I just do.
I think I would take the Phillies too. Now, the rest of their lineup, I don't think I would like as much. But you're telling me that rotation as well. I like that rotation better. I like Joan Duran better than any fucking reliever that the Mets have. And Schweiz, Edmundo Sosa is a good bench piece. Castellanos somehow is still there. He'll probably be gone.
Dude, how have they not traded him yet? I'm sorry. Like,
I
that's
don't know.
crazy. Or just release him. Just eat it.
Who
Eat the
knows, man?
contract.
But I mean, I like Alec Boehm's an okay hitter. He's slightly above average. Alec Boehm, Brandon Marsh as your 4 or 5 hitters. Do you like that better or worse than Polanco and Simeon? I mean, Polanco's probably a better hitter than either of those guys. But again, injuries. He's getting up there in age. How does he look after what was the best year of his career? He could easily be closer to what he was in 2024 than what he was in 2025. And in 2024, Mariners fans wanted his head off.
Yeah, no. I'm a big Jorge fan just because of MLB The Show, like one of the best swings ever in the game, and I've always loved Jorge for that. But no, I was hearing some very bad talk. One of my old teachers in high school, who I was close with, he was a big Mariners fan, and he would not speak kind things about Polanco.
Yeah.
Rightfully so, based off of the stats. But I don't know. Like, this Mets offseason, it's in such a weird spot, and maybe we're a month in and we're eating our words and we're saying the Mets are in first in the division. They look like a superpower, like they look like a super team with the power that they have, but I don't know. Like, for me personally, there's just a lot of what ifs on this team. What if Beatty can continue to trend well? What if Francisco Alvarez can get back to what he's supposed to be? What if Luis Robert can get back to what he is to be? What if Carson Bench is the real deal? No, 150 WRC plus in AAA last year, so kind of, he looks to be a guy, but I don't know. I think the best move is Freddie Peralta, and that's kind of crazy. I mean, I don't know if that's crazy to say, but he's now the clear ace of this team, which that trade is kind of such a big gamble. Like, for me personally, if I'm looking at this from a Mets fan, you gotta love it. Again, you love it that your team is trying to build this new kind of core, but Peralta, who, don't get me wrong, they can obviously still re-sign or extend him. But if that doesn't happen, or if they don't win the World Series this year and Peralta walks, you give up Jet Williams, who was one of their best prospects in your system, is now one of the 51st prospect in baseball. He's a guy. You give it Brandon Sproat, who was blocked. Like, they love Jonah Tong and they love Nolan McLean. But Sproat can still be a guy. And any pitcher that goes to the Brewers, you're scared of turning into a Cy Young candidate. Like, it's just the way the Brewers organization works. But they get an ace, and now you look at the rotation. You have Peralta, you have McLean. Those are dogs. Peterson can throw the ball. Holmes can throw the ball, and then Manaya and Senga coming off of injured seasons. Again, I just think this team is going to be very interesting to watch. I think spring training is going to be very telling. I think I think a month in we can either be saying this we were wrong about this Mets team, or we can be saying, is there any chance that you know Peralta's traded at the deadline for pieces?
Yeah, I mean, the Mets an 83 win team right now. Do you think that they're better or worse roster wise than they were last year? I think they might be pretty close to the same. I
Yeah,
mean, I think the big change is Freddie Peralta, like you said, and that's a good acquisition, but it's a win now acquisition. And you're in a division with the Phillies, you're in a division with the Braves. Like, the Braves, I think they won 76 games last year. I think they're going to be better than that,
yeah,
like,
like
realistically.
yeah.
Like, I don't know if they're going to necessarily be as good as the Mets or the Phillies because they just seem like they're in a weird spot. And Austin Riley's taken a bunch of step backs, and Ozzy Albies isn't the same guy he was a few years ago. Matt Olson's getting older. Acuna's never healthy. Michael Harris kind of did what Julio did, where he didn't take the step after that good rookie year. And if anything, he took steps back and to a greater extent compared to Julio Rodriguez. So it's tough to know that East Division. What are we going to get from that NL East? But
Yeah.
what I do know is I don't think the Mets are as good as the Dodgers. Are they as good as the Padres? I don't know. It's close. I think they're pretty
That's a really
comparable
good.
rosters.
Dude, you got me in a tumble because the whole Padres offseason has been they've done like nothing. They re-signed King and brought in the guy from
Hmm.
Korea. The whole Darvish retirement rumors
That
that
was
went out this
weird.
past week is weird. We don't know if he's leaning towards retirement, but he's not. Like it's just a whole weird thing. But yeah, man, I don't know. Like, and again, this is a team that barely made the playoffs in 2024. They barely missed the playoffs last year. And again, if you're asking me if they're in a better or worse spot, I don't know like what answer I can give you. Like I think this is the one team this offseason that I'm really like, let's see what this is. Because again, on paper, you like a lot of this roster and you don't like a lot of this roster. Like Luis Garcia is in the bullpen for them, and I saw Luis Garcia had a 5 ERA with the Dodgers firsthand last year. Like, and he was pitching big innings and big regular season games for a good portion of the season, and I was really upset by it because I was like, why is Luis Garcia on our team? But I mean, the Mets pitching, like I trust the Mets pitching development, so let's see what they can do. Um, yeah, no man, the Mets are in a weird spot. Let's see where they are, but yeah, just a weird offseason if you're a Mets fan. Um, I hope again, I hope they prove me wrong. I really do. So there's more competition, but I don't know. Yeah, I this is the one offseason in a while where I've really just kind of been indifferent about how I feel
It's
about
it's
a
just
team.
a weird off season, and I talked about sort of it's a win now move, the Freddie Peralta move, but like they're not in a win now position to me. They have some win now like pieces that I guess they
Pieces,
kind
yeah.
of have to do it with, but we've seen the Padres trade prospects and what happened to the Padres. You think they regret the Juan Soto trade? I mean, if I were them, I would regret the Mason Miller trade, I think, but we haven't seen Leo
We haven't
DeVries come
seen,
up,
yeah.
so we don't really know. And at the end of the day, prospects are just prospects. But when you are building a roster to compete for a World Series and compete for multiple years. Now the Mets can spend money to make up for it, but you need to have a farm system where you're bringing guys up that are able to be actual pieces for you. And if you're struggling to do that, you get into the places that some of these teams get to. Talk about the Phillies, talk about the Mets, talk about the Padres, where you don't see a quick future in the next year or two of these big prospects coming up. And now, how do you supplement? Well, you spend more money. You spend $42 million on Bo Bichette and $20 million on Jorge Polanco, and those guys could be not much for you. So it's a weird spot.
It's also final things for me on this Mets thing. Also for Bichette, it's also how much of Bichette and how long of Bichette are you getting? In that press conference, it was that really weird moment when Heyman was like, "Should we be looking at this as a one-year deal?" And Bichette just kind of like, "Yeah," like was signaling to his agent, "Please help me," and the agent had to step in. I mean, you kind of imagine. So if he were to if he has a great year this year, and he opts out, he's probably one of, if not the best hitter on the free agency market next year. The free agency market hitting wise is kind of
Yeah,
lackluster. Like you have,
there's
like
nothing.
there's not a lot. So like
Randy
Bichette,
Arozarena is probably the
hey,
best bat as
that's
of
my
right
guy.
now.
That's my guy. Mexican stat, WBC baby.
We do love
Uh,
Randy Arozarena, but come on. Like, that's
yeah,
the
no.
best bat on the free agent market?
Compared to this offseason, where again Kyle Tucker, it's gonna be a much pitcher heavy offseason. I do think Tarek Skubal unfortunately ends up with the Mets. We'll get there when we get there. Um, that's my
Hot
little
take.
hot
Okay.
take,
Hot
and
take.
hot take. But I kind of see it happening. Just because, again, for me personally, the feel of this team is 2024. They wanted to save for Soto, and I feel like this team is a win now kind of save a little bit for Screwball. Again, we can see what we get there when we get there, but for the Mets, they're in a really weird spot, and I think a question you kind of just brought up, you kind of sparked in me. In a couple of years, who will be saying would have been worth it for the Mets more, Jet Williams or Marcus Semien?
Well, and I think Brandon Sproat might be the best piece that the Mets gave up. And to me, Brandon Sproat's a really good pitching prospect. He could be, maybe he's not going to be, the same caliber, but he's going to be a pretty good starter, I think, in a few years. You're telling me you could have Sproat and Jet Williams in a few years compared to,
Potentially losing
losing
Peralta.
Peralta after a year where you might not even win your division? Risky. It's really risky. And to me, that like I am a risk averse person, and in baseball moves, like I think about it as how do I limit risk? So I mean that's my perspective on it. Like
Yeah.
I don't like it for that purpose. But if you want to win now, I like it for you.
Uh, that's let's see what you do this offseason. When me and Jacob were on this, we would always say two of the cursed teams in baseball, Mets and Angels. So let's see if they can turn around their fortune this year. Obviously, one of the bigger moves of their offseason, flipping Simeon for Nimmo. Let's go over to the Rangers side, who made one of the honestly bigger surprises of the offseason. And I know you know the Rangers better than I do as a Mariners fan and an AOS fan, so I'll let you take the reins a lot of this here. The package was they get Gore, who's 2 years, an ace potential guy. He was an all-star, had a pretty bad second half. In his last 15 games, had a 5.72 ERA, a 1.5 WHIP. Like that's just not gonna get it done. Season didn't end up in horrible numbers. And you look at some of the breaking run value is he's in a great. The extension's great. The K percentage, the whip percentage, the chase, all great. But like the average exit velocity he's giving up, he gives a lot of hard hitting. So let's see what the Rangers can do. They gave up a huge package. Five prospects, none of which were top 100 prospects. But they were all top 20. It was Alejandro Rosario, Albemelec Ortiz, if I butchered that, sorry. Devin Fitzgerald, Yermi Cabrera, and I think what I would label the headliner of this trade is the recent round one pick of last year, Gavin Feen, who goes to the Nationals. Yeah, five top 20 prospects for Gore, and this first of all interesting like package. Five like top 20 prospects. There were rumors that came out days later that the Giants were pushing hard for Abram, so imagine what that package would have looked like. But the Nationals are not in a win now mode, especially with that division. So they get five prospects for the future for an ace potential starter. Again, you like Gore. There were rumors for the Yankees. There were rumors for maybe the Cubs. Even the Mets were rumored to be in on Gore earlier this offseason. Obviously, changed and went to Peralta. And from the pitching perspective for the Rangers, you like having a top three of DeGrom, Eovaldi, and Gore. That's really, really freaking good. What those guys can be, obviously, that's hoping DeGrom's healthy, that's hoping Eovaldi's healthy, and that's hoping Gore can be what he can be. Um, and then you look at the rest of the team, like Nimmo's your leadoff hitter. You love Nimmo, Langford, Seager. Jock Peterson's listed as their DH, and I love me some Jock Peterson, but he had the worst year of his career last year. I don't think he hit more than, I think, 6 home runs. I could be wrong about that. Let me just double check really quickly. Hit 9. Sorry. Hit 9 home runs last year in 96 games. Like that's just it was a not Jock Peterson season. And there's things to like on this roster, and there's things to not like. Notice that Danny Jansen. Danny Jansen's their starting catcher, but he hasn't really put up a productive season since 2022, 2023. I'm gonna let you take the rest of the here, Mahal, because you know this AL West better than I do. Like, where are the Rangers at right now in this division?
Fourth. To me,
Fourth?
yeah, I mean, the only team worse than them is the Cursed Angels. And the Angels are just a sorry poverty franchise. But the A's, to me, are the scariest team in this division other than the Mariners.
I
No
like the
disrespect
A's.
to the Astros. I
No,
think the A's are a really scary
the A's
team.
are gonna be
Can we
dangerous.
talk
I
about
don't,
Nick Kurtz for a second?
dude,
That guy's insane.
dude.
That guy is
I
insane.
I have nightmares about Nick Kurtz. Truly, he's a dog.
He's insane.
Like arguably could have been the number one first baseman in baseball this see like the MLB Network's
Yeah.
doing their like top 10 for positions right now. Arguably could be their number one first baseman. Like it
Yes.
kind of is like how many first basemen do you rank out better than Nick Kurtz? Offensively, none. I obviously defense is a big question, but offensively, Nick Kurtz. Who else? What other first baseman can put up 40 right now? Maybe Matt Olson. But Matt Olson's on the decline.
He's a baby better Matt Olson in my opinion. Like this guy's insane. Now he's playing in a minor league ballpark last year, and he will be again this year, so his numbers are a little bit inflated. But this guy's insane. And just sort of pivoting it back because the A's are a really good team. I don't
Yeah,
want to focus on them because we're talking
yeah,
about the Rangers here. But the Mackenzie Gore trade that broke, and I was like, "Oh, Mackenzie Gore got traded. He got traded to who?
yeah.
Who? Because why? Because why? Now, look, I get it. You have Corey Seager. You got to compete with Corey Seager, and like Nemo's a good piece, and that trade pisses me off. But Mackenzie Gore, like, look, it's the name. Respectfully, it's the name. He has one season with an ERA below 4. Now, if ERA is not your favorite stat, we can talk about FIP. A 3.74 FIP last year. His best season was a 3.53 in 2024. Now, if neither of those stats are your talking card, let's talk about WHIP. His WHIP was over 1.3 last year. 1.3. That's not very good.
That's not gonna get it done. No, it
Not
is
going to
not.
get it done. And he could be slightly better, but ERA minus. Now, the WRC plus averages to 100. Above that's, above average. Below is below average. ERA minus is reverse. 100 is average. Below average is below 100. He was a 99 ERA minus last year. He was basically an average pitcher in terms of purely ERA. FIP wise, 10% above league average. Like, that's fine. But does Mackenzie Gore push the Texas Rangers over the edge? To me, no, he doesn't. And we talk about question marks. We talk about what if. Okay, what if Mackenzie Gore suddenly becomes, the ace that he
He's
was
supposed to
thought to
be,
be?
yeah.
That he was supposed to be. What if that happens suddenly? Well, okay, but you got 2 years of Mackenzie Gore? Is that what it is? I think it's
Yeah,
two
I
years.
think it's 2 years.
Two
2
years of
years.
Mackenzie Gore. Now let's go look at the Rangers roster. You guys have aging players. You haven't had your prospects really break out in the way you have. Langford has been good, but Josh Young, he hasn't been the same guy since his rookie year. Evan Carter hasn't really been the same guy since his rookie year. Okay, maybe what if one of those guys figures it back out and they become the guy you thought you were getting? Okay, Jake Berger. He's a burger. Peterson, like you said, I like Jock Peterson, but he's aging. How old is he now?
He's 30,
34.
34.
He'll be in his age 34 season. And he took a step back last year, and he struggled to hit righties for the first time in his career, I believe. Josh Smith. Who cares about Josh Smith? Danny Jansen. Now, he could take a step, maybe. He's 30 years old, though. He could also fall off a cliff. Now, these are all, I'm taking the pessimistic route in terms
Yeah.
for Rangers fans here on about all of these accounts. But you're getting the number of different things that would have to go right to me for this Rangers team to be better than Seattle or Sacramento, I guess, or even Houston, who Houston's still going to be competitive. Jordan Alvarez, maybe he gets a full season of health here.
Yeah.
That changes them. But even the Astros, they have aging pieces too. So to me, it's if you want to look at the AL West purely, it's Seattle and it's Sacramento. And maybe the Astros and the Rangers are, going to be competitive, but I'm not like scared of those teams as a Mariners fan.
I think that's fair. I think, yeah, the Astros, again, they're not the Astros, the dynasty that they had. They're definitely not. They're out from that. Um, and I think a part of that is kind of let's see what a full season of this team can be. Because I think, again, like you said, Alvarez, when he's right and when he's healthy, one of the best players in baseball. And he can
He's a
put
dog. I
he's a
hate the
dog.
guy.
Like, one of my favorite Joe Davis calls of all time as a broadcaster nerd is this game has been turned upside down. Like his home run against Alvarado in the World Series, that was electric. Jeremy Pena had his first great year when he was supposed to be. Altuve going back to second base after the weird left field experiment. You have Correa back. You hope Walker does well. I mean, the Astros are always going to be competitive. In some situation and in some context, they're going to be competitive this season. Whether that's for the World Series, for a wild card, or just in the AL West, we'll see. But I think, like again, neither of these Texas teams kind of scare you. The A's, I don't personally think they're at playoff contention level yet. But again,
They just don't have the pitching.
they don't have the pitching. Offensively though, I would take them over the Astros. And I think I would take them over the Rangers. Like, that's Kurt, Soderstrom, Bengaliers, Wilson, and Brooker and company over, like, you're talking about, like, guys who can go toe-to-toe with each other. I'm taking Seager, Langford, maybe Nimmo, and that's kind of it. Again, what Berger can be, what Carter can be, Young can be, the key word in all those three players can be. What they're not what they are, what they have been. Like again, you love these pieces. It just can they break out? I mean, Jake Berger, they traded it for him to be another power bat last year. Had a 687 OPS, and you don't like that stat. WRC plus had an 89. Seager and Langford were the only players above that were qualified hitters with an above 100 WRC plus. The closest one that was somewhat qualified was Josh Smith, who was at 100 on the dot. Um, so for the Rangers, let's see. But like Mackenzie Gore isn't as big of a win now piece as like a Freddie Peralta or a Tarek Scuba would be, but to give up 5 prospects for a guy who has ace potential but hasn't fully gotten there yet for 2 years of him, Like, and by the end of those 2 years, you're also the contracts for Eovaldi and Degrom, I believe, will both be up. Like, you're losing all three of those guys to free agency potentially in the next couple of years. So for this Rangers team that is kind of with the contracts they have, I feel like need to be urging more towards win now, and I don't think they have a win now roster.
No, I don't think so either. I mean, that's why I have them fourth. And I sort of shit on the Astros there for a second, but they still have a decent roster. The Altuve second base thing was so weird. Before the season, I talked to Jason Bay, who used to play in the majors. He was coach at my high school, so I talked to
Are
him
you
about it, and
serious?
he was like, "Yeah, yeah,
What?
yeah,
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
yeah."
Okay, hold on. That just dropped out of nowhere.
Jason Bay's my that's my boy. Uh, anyway, I was talking to him about the Altuve thing, and he was like, "This is the weirdest thing, pretty much, that he's ever seen," and it was. But now I look at their roster, right, and Fangraphs. Now Fangraphs obviously doesn't know everything, but Isaac Paredes is on their bench projected right now because they don't have spots for all their infielders. Jeremy Pena, Jose Altuve, Carlos Correa, Christian Walker. That's your infield. Your DH is Jordan. Is he playing left field? He's not a good left fielder.
Not a good
Now that
left
guy still
fielder.
haunts my dreams from 2022 with his homer off Robbie Ray. Like I'll never
I
forget.
forgot
I was
about
on the
that. I'll be
golf
honest.
course. Let me tell you. Let me tell you a story about that. I was
I
on the
love to.
golf course when he during that game, and I was like watching on the bus to the golf course, and I was like, "Oh my god, we might win Game 1 against the Astros." I'm on like the sixth hole, whatever, of a short 9 course, and we're all Mariners fans, and he hits the home run, and it was just like screams. It was just like, and it was a dreadful day. That was the worst drive home I've ever had, man. Just terrible, awful, so depressing. Listening to sports radio, everyone just being depressed and sad the next few days. That guy still haunts my dreams. He is such a good ball player, but he is not a left fielder.
Yeah, when you think when I think of left fielder Don, I think of that play in the 21 World Series. I think it was when Dansby and Soler went back to back in game. I believe it was
Hmm. I
4 or 5.
think it was
I
5.
think yeah. And like Soler hit the home run that barely went over the wall. But if you have a left fielder that grades well, like if you put like what Tyler O'Neill was defensively in 2021, if you put him on that like outfield, that might be a robbed homer. Like I think Jordan, if like I'm gonna pull the clip up if we post it on our socials. Like I think he like ran into the wall, like kind of like ate the
He
wall a little
looks
bit.
he looks like a ghost from Pac-Man out there. It's like what am I looking at?
Yeah.
But he's such a good hitter.
Um. And that yeah, the Astros they operate differently, and like you mentioned, Paredes is on their bench. Let's see what comes of that. Like there were rumors to the Red Sox. Like let's see what the Red Sox will do. Like they're in conversations.
He'd
But
be
like
so fun
and
at Fenway. Can I
yeah,
just
no.
say that?
No,
Oh
yeah,
my god.
absolutely. But Paredes is a guy like has turned into an all-star, has turned into a power bat that you love. He was the return piece for Kyle Tucker. Like he's a guy, and he's on your bench right now. Like there, something else is gonna be done. But yeah, for an AL West again that you know much more than I do. For a Rangers team that again you're gonna compete with the Astros, who they did take you to 7 games in 23. And I know this is a very different team than 23. They took you to 7 games in 23 to face a team like the Mariners, who just made it to Game 7 of the CS, were 2 innings away from a World Series. I'm sorry to bring it up, but like you guys were 2 innings away from a World Series. The Rangers are not a team I think right now that could beat the Mariners team that was 2 innings away from the World Series. Again, I think the Mariners. I personally I don't know where the Mariners offseason is, and
They're
I
worse.
yeah
They're
I
worse.
was talking about I was watching honestly some clips of your socials about the W, and you were saying how like you ranked this offseason like a B at best. Um, I do
Yeah,
think
and
that
I've gone
needs.
down since then. I think it's like a C plus. Like it's like a, and the only reason that I had it as a B was just because I freaking love Josh Naylor, man. Like, and like all the moves, not to get into the Mariners weeds here, but all the moves on their own are just like they're really good moves. Like Rob Refsnyder is a sneaky good move. Jose A. Ferrer is, I think he's gonna be a really good
Yeah,
reliever.
he's nasty. He's a dog.
I think he's gonna be really good. Naylor's a great piece, but you've now lost 2 of your top 5 hitters right now from that playoff run, and I don't want Gino Suarez back. I don't want him back. I'm sorry, but
Hey,
like,
hey, rumor has it they're still, the phone calls are still there.
oh,
Gino's I honestly, it's such a weird spot where he is. I don't know where he's gonna go. If it's me, like to pick four teams that could get him, it would be Mariners, Red Sox, and I'm gonna throw out two sneaky ones. And you might laugh at me when I say this. The Pirates have been looking for more power, and they can easily spend. I like the Rangers fit a little bit.
I do and I don't. It'd be interesting from that perspective because it'd sort of be them giving up on Josh Young, which I just don't know if like where they're at right now, if that would be a worthy move. To me, like part of the thing with Gino and the Mariners is like there's young guys that I'm like, I want them to be able to have runway to play.
Yeah,
Now I'm
you've
getting
talked
to the
about
point.
extensively of we off
Yeah.
camera of your prospects. I'm not the highest on Williamson. I don't know personally know Williamson, but like
It's
he
not
can.
Williamson, it's
It's
Colt
it's yo- it's
Emerson,
young
man.
it's young and Emerson
Yep.
and the potential those two guys have. Emerson looked I believe he was what the ninth or seventh best prospect in
Top 10,
baseball,
something
the
like
top
that,
10,
yeah.
yeah. Like Emerson's a dog and like again, like if Young doesn't grade out well against lefties, maybe there's a platoon with Williamson that you can do or something that can be done there. Um, but again, like from a team you're losing again Jorge Polanco career year, you're losing.
He was he was so huge for the Mariners. That's the thing, like his
He hit
numbers
two
were
homers off of
good.
Skubal,
Yeah.
like
He brought them to the ALCS like partially on his back in some of those games. Like that game 5 I guess it was. He had the walk off obviously, but he did other stuff like guy was so clutch for this team. He came up in every moment, and now you don't have anyone to like replace that production. And it's hard right now, like for the Mariners, because they're trying to toe this balance between giving runway for the prospects and letting them have playability. But you got a lot of questions right now, and you need to add bats. It's why Brendan Donovan has been such a hot name for them, and I hate to just keep using this name because it's like haunting me at this point. But it's why he keeps getting brought up because he can play corner outfield, he can play second base, he can play third base. Like he can move around. He's like a utility guy that can actually hit in a sense. So for the Mariners, like that's why it makes sense. Now, if they bring Gino back, my question is, okay, what happens when Cole Emerson is ready, right? Is Gino going to be a DH partially?
I think you have to
Well,
with the declining defense. I think you have to DH Gino, and
I think so too.
it does become a
But
question because I really love Canzone, and I don't know how you feel about Canzone. I like remember that trade when it went down, when they traded him to Seattle, and I saw Canzone a little bit with the Diamondbacks, obviously playing against the Dodgers. I'm not like a scout in any sense of the word. When I saw this dude swinging the bat, and I saw his stance. I really fell in love with what Kenzone could be. I mean, had an
mhm.
800 OPS last year. Like he's a solid guy, but again, defensively, if you like move a Suarez to the outfield to the DH, that moves Kenzone to the outfield.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing with the Mariners roster, and like to me, like they have holes, but like it all comes back to me as like the guy that's kind of effing it all up is JP Crawford, and it's like JP Crawford isn't really good enough defensively or offensively to be your everyday shortstop, but because he's this big guy in the locker room and a big guy for the fan base, they can't really do anything about it. And if it were my choice, I would bring a true third baseman in, try and get someone that could be here for a couple of years, right? Because that's a hole in the future. But how you'd bring someone in for that, and then I would try and trade JP Crawford and see if you can get someone that could play shortstop a little bit. I wish it had just been Willie Castro, to be honest. Like Willie Castro seemed like the perfect guy for the
Love that for
Mariners.
you guys.
It would have been great. And you
Yeah.
mentioned Dom Canzone. I actually did a deep dive actually into Dom Canzone on my episode earlier this morning. I dropped it,
Nice.
and I'm a Dom Canzone truther now
Yeah.
because I
No.
looked at it.
No, dude.
He made some legit changes to his swing. It's a flatter swing. He's catching the ball farther out in front. He dominated fastballs, hit fastballs up and in, which like if you're hitting velo up and in, you can do what you want. He hit sliders. He hit curveballs. He struggled a little bit against changeups, but like he made some legit swing changes, and I'm like, okay, maybe he's not a 141 800 OPS WRC plus type of guy, but can he be a 115, 120? And that's a big difference. But we talked about what ifs. That's a what if.
Yeah.
And for this Mariners roster, they have too many what ifs, and that's why it's a B minus C plus off season, like I've
The
said.
the AL West is gonna be very interesting. I'm honestly really excited to see how that division plays. Um, Dude, when the Luis Arias to the Mariners report drops, I'm gonna be livid. Cause it's been rumored for like in trades for so long. Like he's who knows where Luis Arias is by the time spring training starts. But I don't know. I kind of see the.
Dude, that'd be the guy. That'd be another one of those hitters that would just come to Seattle and die. Add him to the Colton Wongs, to the Adam Frazier.
Oh,
I guess Frazier didn't die because he's still in the league, but Colton Wong,
R.I.P.
who else
Colin
is there?
Wong,
AJ
2023
Pollock.
Dodger legend, Colin Wong. Yeah, no, the AL West is going to be very, very, very interesting. I'm honestly excited to see how it plays out. I do hope it works well for you guys. My final note, I actually didn't start daydreaming. I really would have loved Willie Castro to the Mariners. Now he's with Holden's
He was
Rockies.
perfect, man.
Yeah. So AOS, we'll see how you guys do. I think that's gonna be very. I honestly think that sneaky will be one of the more fun divisions in baseball. The final thing I think we can talk about today, I think if you're talking about weird off seasons, I think, I think the definition of the weird off seasons this year is the state of New York. Let's just put it that way. And I think that can be said around a lot of sports, but especially baseball. We're gonna go to the Bronx. They are able to bring back their guy. I believe it was 165 for 5 or 6 years,
Something like
five
that, yeah.
years, with opt-outs after the second and third year. So it's kind of an opt-out contract, but Bellinger he gets the bag. As a Dodger fan, I will be honest. A part of me was sad when we signed Tucker because I was daydreaming about Bellinger coming back a little bit, but then I remembered Kyle Tucker's Kyle Tucker, so I was good on that part. But the Yanks, who desperately need to get back Bellinger, they do bring him back. And Bellinger is a guy, again, one of 11 players who's averaging about 4 plus B war and 90 RBI over the past 3 seasons. And that's with the likes of an Aaron Judge, an Otani, a Witt, a Soto, a Lindor, Ramirez, Olsen, Raleigh Freeman, and Vladdy being the other 10 of that 11. But when you're in that group of numbers, that's a good group of guys. And this everything looks to be really good. Like the squared up ball percentages there, the K rate has been exceptional. But for Bellinger, some of the best of his career. And for the Yanks, this was a very desperately needed move. I think, and I think this whole offseason would have been different if Trent Grisham doesn't accept that qualifying offer. But he does, and so now they obviously have to keep him. And he's in the center field spot. And that's no disrespect to Trent Grisham, who had the career year he'd been waiting for. But again, that's like, can he keep that up?
No.
Yeah, exactly. No, or we don't know what he can be. And now again, with the whole shortstop situation, it's weird with Volpe being injured somewhat, and Caballero, regardless of the injury, looks to be their starting shortstop. There were some Yankee fans daydreaming about trading Volpe and signing a Ha-Seong Kim, and there was Bichette rumors and all of this, and the recent reports that they were heavy in talks for Skubal, and the Tigers wanted Ben Reich, Schlittler, and Lombard, who was the number one prospect. Also, I did not realize how good Schlittler was last year.
Dude, he's so good.
He's a dog. No, he's an actual
Yeah.
dog. Like I remember watching Game 3. I was talking about it with Aubrey because Aubrey's obviously a big Red Sox fan. And I remember talking about that game. And I was like, yeah, like Schlittler like against early. Like I don't know. Like it's a rookie versus rookie. I believe Schlittler went 8 innings that game. Like dog. Like absolutely dog.
Dude is so good.
But yeah, no man. Like and the AL East is in a weird spot too. Like the Blue Jays, who are going to be contending, but let's see what they can be again. Arguably, they're a different team, for better or worse, than they were last year. The Orioles, like they made moves to be better. The Rays are always going to be around 500, and the Red Sox want to contend. The Red Sox are going to be there. They're angry that they just lost to the Yankees in 3 games in the wild card. So for a Yankees team that they were rumored about Tucker, they were rumored for Skubal, for Gore. They bring in Ryan Weathers, which was kind of a weird move. Who is now like your forward because of injury. Like to start the season, Garrett Cole, Rodon, and Schmidt will all be on the IL. So I think for me, for this Yankees team, in an off season where I do believe the Orioles got better, I think the Blue Jays got better in some places. I think in some places, I think the pitching got
I
better. I think the pitching got better for
but
the Blue
I think their
Jays.
pitching did because of Cease, but I think they're a worse team overall. I don't think they're a
Yeah,
better
that's
team than
fair.
they were, and I think partially they're a worse team just because I don't think some of those guys, and I'm a Blue Jays hater, so like take what I'm saying here with a grain of salt, but I don't think some of those guys are gonna be able to replicate what they did. Specifically, I look at George Springer. Is George Springer gonna
Contract
replicate
year,
what he did
yeah.
last year? Like, I don't think so.
Yeah, and that
respectfully.
it's no diss to the Blue Jays, and I think like again, it's not a very much different roster than they had last year, but I think you mentioned it's not. It's I would agree with you. It's kind of worse, and I know Okamoto looks to be a guy. We'll see how his swing translates to the majors. I think the biggest thing for me here is I think a lot of Blue Jays analysts and guys, obviously, like there was never a report that Bichette was coming back to the Jays. There was never interest. There was never like a report like that it was ever even a possibility. But like for me personally, and there was reports that they feel like they have good guys on the roster that they don't want to block. And like Ernie Clement has now the most hits in a single postseason. Um, and he can be a dog, but like he had a below 750 OPS last year, like in the regular season. Andres Jimenez, I will never. Not, I'm a hater personally because of the bench is clearing because of whiffing your hand to get hit by the pitch and then getting angry when you're hit the next pitch. So that kind of angered me a little bit. But again, Andres Jimenez had one good offensive year, is one of the best defenders in the game, if not the best, but one great offensive year in 2022, and has struggled. Like, I think this is going to be a very Brewers Rays esque team of like the roster they put together. It's just going to be can they execute that? And in a division where like all five teams are trying to be competitive, I don't know. But for this Yanks team, man, like going back to the Yankees, I just think they needed to do more. Like this offseason was in such a weird spot. There was just Chisholm trade rumors. Like there was just so much going on, and it never felt like they did. Like I believe who was it? Like Ryan Weathers, I think was one of the only guys that's like a new guy on their roster. If I'm being honest, like
Yeah, I think
am I wrong?
it's Ryan Weathers. It's Ryan Weathers. It's Ryan
It's Ryan
Weathers.
Weathers. Like everyone else was a re-sign. They re-signed Blackburn. They re-signed Rosario. They re-signed um who they re-signed in the bullpen. They re-signed Hill and Yarborough. Like I don't know, man. I just think the Yankees needed to do so much more, and I don't know where they are right now.
They're just not going to be like the Yankees, you know. The Yankees, that name is like it means something in baseball. It's a fearful sort of thing. You fear the Yankees because they are the Bronx Bombers. They are the Yankees, you know. But I look at their roster, I'm like, all right, fine. Like, is Trent Grisham going to be as good as he was? Like, why did they offer him the qualifying offer? Why would he not take that?
I mean, I think
Like, why would he not take 20 million?
I think he expected his market to be just better. I think maybe his agents and him were telling him, "Hey, man, early looking out, like it's not looking good. I think you oughta, uh, take the 20 mil.
Yeah,
If you can hit another 25 home runs with that short porch and right, like go ahead and do it. Prove to teams that you can do that for back-to-back seasons consistently, and then maybe you get a better deal. And like qualifying offers are in such a weird spot. I believe this is like the one, like the most the year that the most QOs have been accepted. I think in
yeah.
MLB history or something. That was crazy because it was like four, and I was like, whoa. But yeah, man, for the Yanks who like I they have pieces like I'm like I'm saying as if they're a bad team. Like this is not a bad Yankees team. Like they went to the DS. They looked horrible in the DS last year, but they went to the DS. They went to 6 games with the Dodgers in the World Series. Sorry, no, 5. Sorry, whoa. Try to give them more credit where the credit's due. Like they went to 5 games in the World Series in 24. Like they almost there was a world where they pushed the World Series back to LA, back to a game 6. Um, I think, and it's kind of an exercise we did. A lot of people did last season with Soto leaving. What do you take? Do you take a Soto or do you take a Bellinger, Fried, Williams, and a Goldschmidt? But you can only do that exercise when you're adding new players, and they've added only one, Ryan Weathers, who can be a guy, but when everyone's healthy on this roster, he's back in the pen.
Yeah, and Garrett Cole will be almost like a free agent acquisition for them. But Garrett Cole's going to be 35 years old. How does he come off of Tommy John surgery at 34, 35 years old? There's no given of what he's going to be. Now, he could be really good or he could not be. We just don't know. So, if you're a Yankees fan, you should be a little frustrated with this offseason, very understandably, because, Trent Grisham, as much as he might have screwed it up, you're the damn Yankees. You should be able to take that 20 million and say, all right, well, now we just have to eat that cost and we can still go do what we want to do. And they haven't done that. Were they a team you feared last year? No, not really. Are they a team I feared going into this year? Not especially. Giancarlo Stanton, 36 years old now, right? And I'm talking a lot about age, but Stanton had a pretty good year last year, right?
Yeah.
Is he going to be as good as he was? Probably
And
not.
he was injured for most of the season. Like he had 281 plate appearances. Again, did put up a 158 WRC plus in those plate appearances. But again, it's for Giancarlo since like 23. It's either been some of the worst numbers we've seen or injury. Some of the worst, some of the best, or injury. Like that's like what we've seen from Giancarlo over the past couple of years. So yeah, they're just in a weird spot. Like for you, like again, this is just like Yankees daydreaming. Is there anything else they can do free agency? Like I doubt trade wise that like can it like help like can make this offseason better.
I mean, who's left on the free agent market even that would be a big acquisition for them? Is Ramon Urias gonna would he be a good acquisition for them to play shortstop a little bit? Maybe just because that adds another guy that potentially could be a contributor.
Dude,
But
yeah.
it's hard to know. Like Jose Caballero, as much as I'm a Jose Caballero fan. Like I like Jose Caballero, especially when he was with the Mariners. Like he's not an everyday shortstop, especially not for a team that wants to win 90 plus games, and for a team that is the New York goddamn Yankees. Jose Caballero, Ryan McMahon, Austin Wells is the bottom three in your lineup. Do they strike fear into you? Any one of those guys? No, not really. The only guy in that lineup that I'm like, he kind of scares me is Aaron Judge. Ben Rice is a pretty good hitter, but he doesn't like strike fear into me. And to me, I'm like, I would be okay with walking Judge and making Bellinger, Rice, and Stanton beat me every single time. Every single
Yeah.
time.
Oh yeah. I mean that's kind of fair. Like Trent Grisham being the leadoff hitter. Like again, that's no diss to what the year Trent Grisham had, but I don't think he's a leadoff hitter. Like there's just I don't think there's an identity with this team. And I think the Yankees teams of old, and even just going into the 2020s, there was a identity of the Bronx Bombers, or there was something. This doesn't feel like it. Like in 2024 when they had Soto and Judge, like they're that was their whole identity, just the two of them. This team doesn't have that. Me personally, I've been such a big daydreamer of trading Wells, making Rice the catcher. Like again, this is the Yankees daydreaming. This would never happen, but like let's say you trade Wells for like a prospect, you make Rice the catcher, and you bring in like a Gino to play first. Like I would feel a lot better about this team, but I think, and again, the Yanks fans know your team better than we do, but they've been in such a weird spot of trying not to spend money and trying to be the Yankees without being the Yankees, where it's just been they're in a weird spot, and it's gonna be interesting to see where they compete next year. Any final notes for you on the Yanks? Because I don't know. I thought going into talking about this Bellinger signing, I would be a lot more hopeful about the Yanks, and I think I'm actually a lot more pessimistic about their season than I've been all off season.
Yeah, and I mean for me it just like I agree with you. And it comes back to just like American League is wide open. It is wide open. And it's just taking one of these teams having an off season to go slam the door down. And the Mariners haven't done it. The Blue Jays, I don't think, have done it. The Yankees obviously haven't done it. The team, I think, in the American League that might have had the best offseason is the Red Sox. But are they like slamming the door down?
And
No.
that's like kind of a take because Red Sox fans haven't loved their off season.
I've really liked their offseason. Wow.
It's
Do they not like it?
they're in a weird spot because again they were rumored to get like so many different like they were rumored to be in on guys, and again compared to what other teams did, like Pete Alonso was a fit. Like I get them wrong, I like their offseason too, but losing Bregman and not
That's true.
getting Alonso, I think turned a lot of fans off to what their offseason was. I believe when they brought in they were one of the I think they were the last team to bring in a piece through free agency this offseason.
Yeah, that part's true, probably. But I mean, Ranger Suarez, Sonny Gray, Wilson Contreras, I feel like those are all good pieces.
They're good. No, I like their offseason, but I think the consensus I got from Red Sox fans that I've talked to is they don't love it as much as they thought they would.
I mean, I get it. And I'm a Mariners fan complaining about my offseason at the same time. So, it all comes back to just like nobody's, opened and slammed the door down. Someone just needs to go do that. Go make a couple more moves. You have time. There's 2.5, 2 days or 2 weeks and a couple days until pitchers and catchers report for most teams. You have 2 weeks basically to go Slam the door down and make yourself the favorite in the American League. And all it takes is one team going and doing that.
Yeah, no, the AL is very reminiscent to me of the AFC in football this year. Like
Yeah.
the door was wide, like anyone could win. Like the door
And
was
then you'll
wide
get
open.
ran in the World Series. Just like
But
the
but by your
Patriots will get
Hawks,
ran by the Hawks.
if the Hawks win it in my stadium, I might riot, man.
Oh, can you imagine the Seahawks beat the Niners at Levi's, beat the Niners in the playoffs at Lumen, just dismantle them, beat the Rams at Lumen, and then beat the Patriots in Levi's? What a Super Bowl run!
So that's been the last episode you'll see Mahal Anderson on this podcast. Nah, thank you for joining us. It's so good to get back on the six. I know it's been a hot minute, but we are excited for things to come. And speaking of things to come, we're gonna go to spring training officially.
Yeah.
It's confirmed. We're trying to get the details out now, but we're gonna do a little spring training vlog, get an episode done there. We're really excited things to come. Maybe even a predictions video from spring training live will be interesting to see, but. Yeah, no,
Maybe.
it's exciting things for us this year. We're hyped. Second semester starting for us in less than a week, so we got that to look forward to as well. um, final nugget for our baseball podcast. Why not? Mookie Betts is now coaching this year's NBA Celebrity All Star Game. You know,
All right. Good for the
there we go.
Dodgers.
Good, more good news.
Extracurriculars.
I've been Michael Herrera. Thank you for Mahal for joining us. We're excited to be back, guys. Yeah, thank you for watching Let's Talk Baseball. We'll be with you guys next time. Peace.